It was extremely shocking and surprising, very humiliating to be marched out of the office with no opportunity to speak to our colleagues or our friends about what was happening.
If we start off first, if you could just tell me a little bit about what your role was at Rockstar, so what you did there, how long you were there for, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I joined roughly 4 years ago. I think around this time of year would have been exactly 4 years. So all this happened just before that anniversary. And I was in the QA department. I was a QA tester. It's a lot of playing the games and trying to spot issues and find bugs, tracking all those different issues. Yeah, just that sort of thing. A lot of people, when I tell them what I do, they're like, "Oh, so you're running into walls all day." You know, it is a very fun job. There's probably more admin than a lot of people think. but yeah, that was what I was doing.
What did you like about the role? Was that a dream job for you?
I mean, getting into the games industry in general was always a dream job. And I already had a bit of QA experience from a previous job. So getting to utilize that experience in the games industry was obviously amazing. And for a company like Rockstar, you know, I love Rockstar Games. They're always very pristine as well. So it's good to work in QA because, you know, they're known for being very bug free, I would say. Yeah, it was definitely a dream job.
And then obviously to go from a dream job to not having that job at all. I mean, what was it like when you found out that you were getting sacked?
Yes, it was very, very awful, especially at the very beginning when we didn't really know what our options were. I was losing a lot of sleep, of course. I was very stressed. I lost quite a bit of weight. And obviously one of the main struggles there was, you know, all of us now have gross misconduct on our profile. And again, the games industry is very competitive. It's very hard to break into. It's in a bit of a state at the moment where a lot of people are getting laid off for various reasons all across the industry. So having an extra challenge for trying to get back into the industry is obviously awful. So it's not just like you're losing this job. It's like you're losing your potential future career in general in this industry that all of us loved. And we were extremely lucky, unfortunately, to work in it because it shouldn't be a luck-based thing. But it kind of is at the moment.
And was it something you were expecting at all? Like, how did the process happen? What happened on the day when you found out that you were going to be fired?
It was extremely unexpected. None of us received any warning. We were, you know, called into meetings without any prior warning. Some people who weren't physically in the office just had a phone call. There was no prior inclination of the fact that this meeting could end in our dismissals. So it was extremely shocking and surprising, very humiliating to be marched out of the office with no opportunity to speak to our colleagues or our friends about what was happening. Yeah, it was a very horrible, stressful day.
How do you feel about the way that they've handled the whole situation? I mean, Rockstar, the whole process that you've been through, and the other colleagues as well, the 31 of you who have been sacked. How does it make you feel?
I feel like it's felt quite cruel, a lot of it. Again, I won't speak too much about this just due to ongoing legal proceedings. But yeah, I don't know. It's felt quite inhuman, a lot of the way we've been treated or ignored. And we have really had to kind of pull together and fight back ourselves. We've kind of alluded to this a few times, but in a dark way, it's kind of a blessing in disguise that so many of us were fired. You know, if there wasn't 34 of us across the UK and Canada, we wouldn't have such an amazing support network. We wouldn't be able to share the workload of what all of this is involved. So that has been a weird little shimmer of light in this whole thing. And again, just outside of us ourselves, we have received so much support from so many people all over in sometimes very surprising places.
It seems like, you know, there is a fight that is being had now, fighting back against this. That's what's happened to people. What are your thoughts on how that's going to go and kind of the future for yourselves?
For us specifically, I hope it will lead to our reinstatement and to us getting our jobs back, because ultimately we just want to be back at our desks, doing our jobs with our friends again. We just want to get back to work. Outside of that, though, I strongly think, I mean, our union is currently stronger than it has ever been, and it continues to grow. And I do think it will not be long before we have a recognised union. And even outside of us, I hope it does set a precedent within the industry and maybe in other workplaces across the UK, because I do think unions are incredibly important. The IWGB has been completely amazing. It's the most valuable subscription I pay for. And yeah, I want to see more unionisation across the UK. As far as I'm aware, there's only one game studio in the UK that has a recognised union, and I don't think that's acceptable. I think that number needs to be way higher.
Some people might not understand the importance of a union in your industry specifically. Why is it so important for you to have that space?
There's, especially, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but the last few years, even though the industry is kind of earning more money than it ever has, I believe, and more people are playing video games than before, there's a big imbalance of power, I guess, within the industry. The last few years there's been so many layoffs. People are very, very kind of insecure in their jobs, and it is also still a relatively young industry, and a lot of people who get into it might not have experience at workplaces that are more traditionally unionized. A lot of people also get into it because they're very passionate about it, and as a result, they may kind of accept certain treatment that they might not otherwise accept because they just really want to be doing this job. So I think there are so many reasons why the industry does need to be unionized.
In a statement, Rockstar North told the BBC the sacked employees had broken company policy and legal obligations by discussing unannounced features from upcoming games in a public forum. Claims that these dismissals were linked to union membership or activities are entirely false and misleading.